since I'm trying to record a bunch of episodes in advance because I'm anticipating the holiday season, I wanted to talk about something that's a little bit, I won't say lighter, but definitely something that I can kind of talk about off the cuff without doing a lot of research. Cultural appropriation versus cultural appreciation. This is a big topic that is in American society. I think that in general it tends to be a bigger discussion on the left than it does on the right, but it's mainly because the right is seemingly kind of uncaring of the topic, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems as if the right-wing view is that people who care... Okay, I don't know why my video stopped on my phone, but cultural appreciation on the right seems to be perceived as something that the left talks about to try to shame people or put people down or kind of nitpick how they're dressing, what they're saying, what they're doing, and also seen as pandering to minority groups. And the thing is that most of the people who seemingly are not caring about it as a issue, and I don't mean people who think of stuff as appreciation instead of appropriation, I'm talking about people who just don't care to talk about it at all. The majority of them are white, and the majority of them live in areas that seem to be predominantly white. However, on the left, there is a very split opinion, as always, about what cultural appropriation is and what cultural appreciation is. The reason why I wanted to talk about this in the first place was because I saw a video on TikTok, now that I have a more diverse opinions political TikTok, I've noticed a lot more topics coming up, and the post was, I'm not going to say the name of the creator because I think it would be silly to like expose someone over this, and it's not even exposing, it's just like they had this opinion and it was interesting to see it, because if you look at my main TikTok For You page, it would never say this because my bubble is so perfect, it's so shell-like, but the TikTok was, the woman said, if they're allowed to do this, then we're allowed to do this. And the first picture or collage was a whole bunch of photos of black women with blonde wigs on, or like blonde extensions in their hair, and blonde, like, or even not even blonde, like white or yellow, like synthetic extensions. I think one of them was even like just colored yarn, which is like, it's not blonde, and I don't think that any of the pictures were technically supposed to be like copying blonde women's hair as a style. Like, actually all the images she used were very extreme and kind of stylistically blonde. So whatever, that was the first, and then the second one, the post was literally just like pictures of white blonde women with braids in their hair. And it's like, okay, so what you're saying from this is, if black women can pretend to be blonde, then white women should be able to wear braids without ridicule. And I have so many thoughts, and I might not even just make this video about cultural appropriation. I might just make it about this one video because I think I have so much to nitpick about hairstyles, but hear me out. So in the first video, it was more about hair dyeing and wigs and synthetic hair than it was about a hairstyle that is perceived as appropriation. Because when you think about it, people, specifically women, often dye their hair multitudes of different colors. Blonde women dye their hair brunette, blonde women dye their hair red, blonde women dye their hair black. I'm like all of the shades of hair colors always dye their hair different colors. That's normal. So why would wearing synthetic hair or synthetic wig be any different than just dyeing your hair? It's honestly less damaging to your hair to get synthetic hair or synthetic wig. And I'm saying that synthetic as an artificial, not necessarily synthetic. I understand that there's also real hair wigs and extensions, but I'm just saying for ease. My microphone. I hate this. When will I have one thing without... Oh, I'm having technical difficulties. Anyway. Oh no. Everything shut down again. Except for hopefully you. There are so many different hair types and so many different ways of doing hair. And I feel like this is primarily a female issue because women, for some reason, tend to tear each other apart online very frequently. So to kind of project that these black women in this collage were somehow culturally appropriating blonde hair is wild, because then you could say that anyone who dyes their hair black is culturally appropriating people with black hair. It's not appropriation. Like, sure, okay, the hair is straight, it's a different hair type, or it's wavy, it's a different hair type. Like, that's fine. It's like you taking a straightening iron to your hair. Unless your hair is perfectly pin straight, you will also do something to alter your hair texture. I don't understand why this is a big deal. Okay, I'm getting way too heated. Like, it was just such a stupid starting argument that I couldn't even take it seriously. And then, second of all, the second image was a collage of white women with braids. And I think that it was interesting because I don't know the context of any of these women with braids. And it could be that they all are just wearing braids to defiantly be, I don't know, culturally appropriative. But braiding has been like a conversation that we have had for a really long time, because anyone is allowed to wear certain kinds of braids, but then when they get down to a certain style, there's then I'm gonna literally absolutely destroy this phone and mic situation. Oh my god, it is driving me up the wall. Like, firmly up the wall. Like, I just want to have one moment where I can get through a recording without my phone Why? Why do you hate me? Oh. Okay, my phone is now recording again. My mic is now connected to the right mic. Hopefully my camera is fine. Anyway, so the braids that are undisputed, correct me if I'm wrong, undisputed as fine are French braids, Dutch braids, any sort of braid that I would say divides half of your head, like half and half, or is your full hair. And if I can figure out how to put images in, I will. But, you know, so there's the full hair, 2 parts of hair. But if you start getting down to 3 splits, it gets a little complicated. Usually people won't do 3 splits because it looks awkward and is either asymmetrical or makes you look like you have some sort of mohawk situation. If you do half of your head in smaller braids, it's more of a Viking style, which has its own connotations for various reasons. I think that people can either do this respectfully or in a way that makes you look like a white supremacist. And it's very difficult to tell the difference. It just is the context with which you're wearing it. If it's for cosplay, I get it. If it's for like a high fashion style or a makeup tutorial or something, I get it. But if you're wearing it out with like a Mjolnir and you're doing a lot of like white heritage stuff, it gets a little sus. And I think we can agree on that. But then, if you do your whole head in cornrows, for instance, as a white person, you start being looked at very strangely because those type of braids are usually seen as a protective hairstyle and for a very specific hair type, and it's not the hair type of a white person. And white people with non super curly hair do not need protective hairstyles in that way. The difference is if you are wearing wigs for cosplays, performances, if you're wearing them under something else as a protective hairstyle, that is pretty uncontroversial. I think if you're doing it in order to put something over it, I think that tends to be widely understood as fine. The others... Oh my god. This is the worst recording I've done so far. This is awful. How has this started to just mess me up? Okay, the other situation in which I have seen white people use cornrows or smaller braids is in fighting. And men and women do this. But almost all mixed martial artists, boxing, MMA, I always said MMA, certain kinds of like jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, any kind of contact sport tends to also put their hair in braids, in usually some sort of cornrow protective hairstyle, to keep it out of their face, to keep it away from being grabbed. Athletes in general tend to put their hair in more braids, up more. And I honestly haven't seen a lot of discussion online about whether female MMA fighters or boxers should be allowed to put their hair in cornrows. But I think that in general, the way I view it is if you're offending someone or hurting someone with something that you're doing, if you continue to do it on purpose, you are directly responsible for hurting that person. I mean, if you do it and you just don't know, and then someone tells you that they're upset by it, I think, and if you don't stop, I think that's a problem. I think that if you wear it in the privacy of your own home because you're trying to like do some sort of hairstyle, that's fine. And also this will probably, the thing about this is that this will come across as very liberal, my entire argument, because I'm thinking about what will and will not hurt people. And a lot of people on the right, I'm sure, would just be like, no, you should just do it. If you want to do it, you should do it. You shouldn't care if you're hurting anyone. It's actually really dramatic for someone to say that you're hurting someone based on like the way that you're wearing your hair. Sure, fine. But I also wouldn't use language that would hurt someone either. Like if I'm talking to someone and they say, oh, what you said really hurt my feelings, I won't just continue to do that because that's rude. If I was wearing a shirt with a message on it that someone was upset about, I would have a conversation about why, and if they explained to me why it was hurting them and the reasons for it, and that they really wished I wouldn't wear it, I wouldn't do it. I have a lot of friends who have like trauma, and I would never do something to try to hurt them in that way, because I try to make sure they're okay with what I'm doing. It's a way of living in a polite society where you know that something is triggering or upsetting or whatever word you want to use, and as a polite person we just don't do it because it hurts people or makes people feel uncomfortable. I do think that braids are kind of like a something that I personally can't understand because it's not something that is very meaningful to my culture or me as a person. But for the people who I've heard talk about it, it is very special. It is a community thing. It is more meaningful than just a hairstyle. And so to be like, you're appropriating white hair by putting on a blonde wig or getting blonde extensions, like, it just doesn't hold the same weight that I think it would to do cornrows in direct opposition to people who are telling you not to. I don't know. It just seems a little weird that people are like so willing to die on this hill. Like, I don't want my hair in that many braids. It's hard to keep up. It's hard to do in the first place. It takes hours to do well at least. It doesn't look particularly good on me. I don't play a lot of high impact sports that require me to have my hair back. Like, if I'm just gonna put my hair in a braid, I just do my full head, like, you know, just all of my hair at once, and it keeps it out of my face. Like, I don't know why people are so into this hairstyle that they're like willing to fight people over it. Like, this woman who made this video about, like, if they're able to do this, then we're able to do that. Like, why are we fighting? Like, it's not that deep. Like, just don't do things that upset people. But also, like, if someone says that something is hurting them or making them feel upset, why are you doing it? Like, are you being purposely hateful and angry and mean? Like, are you a bully? Like, why is that your first impulse? It makes no sense to me. Just calm down. Like, genuinely. Like, it's not that deep and you're weird. I don't know. I feel like that's my hot take of the day. It's not that deep and you're weird. Don't fight people as a white person over having cornrows or not having cornrows. It doesn't matter. In the same way, like, don't go around telling white women that, or black women, that they're appropriating white culture by wearing blonde wigs. Like, stop. If that's really something you're so upset about, like, I don't know, go talk to someone real. Like, get offline. Maybe that's a little too controversial for today. Maybe I'm gonna get bullied off the internet for saying that. That would be that would be ironic. Be nice to people. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying be nice to people.